Hey, what's going on, Guardians? TBL here, coming back at you guys with part 2 of Blkvox and I's discussion video, our big talk about everything we know right now about Destiny 2 and everything we feel about it. Last time we spoke at length about subclasses and some of the changes coming to that, and this episode is going to be focused on weapons, the new weapon system, some of the new weapon types we're getting, and how we feel about some of the changes, specifically the change between what was previously special weapons and are now power weapons, stuff like sniper rifles and shotguns, and how those changes are going to affect the way those weapons play and affect your loadout choices in both PvP and PvE. And don't worry, I promise this one's not quite as long as the previous part. Either way, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy. Right on to the next thing you wanted to talk about was the gun system, the changes that have been coming to the way primary weapons, secondary weapons, and what was formerly the heavy weapons, now called the power weapons, play. So in Destiny 2, you basically have two primary weapons. You've got your kinetic primary and your energy primary. And the reason why I'm calling them both primary weapons is because they're kind of interchangeable. Yeah, like you can have a kinetic hand cannon and an energy hand cannon. You can have a kinetic pulse rifle and an energy pulse rifle. It's the same real class of weapons, except it's just that one will have an element on it. Personally, I love that change. I think that's a fantastic change. It answers, it solves the whole issue around elemental primaries by letting you use the weapons you want as an elemental weapon in whatever way you want. And what they wound up doing with the special weapons, all the one-shot weapons, so stuff like shotguns, fusion rifles, sniper rifles, is they moved all of that into the same class as the heavy weapons, the new power weapon class, which consists of everything I just mentioned, the specials, LMGs, rocket launchers, swords presumably, and the new grenade launcher class. And you had some issues with that, as I recall.
Yep, I do.
Let me see it.
It felt like Bungie just hit the eject button on specials and said, okay.
They did. Abort.
Balancing this month after month, year after year, is going to be tiring. Specials are going to be problematic, and we don't know how to balance them properly. Let's just move them to the heavy slot and just call it a day. That's how I felt.
Yeah, and we watched the reveal together when we saw that, we've got our kinetics, our energy, and then our power weapons, and then we immediately said, so that's their solution to the special weapon problem.
Yep.
Can't have a special weapon problem if you don't have special weapons. Just get rid of them all, make them heavy weapons, have them share ammo with heavy weapons, and make you choose which. Ultimately, this is the one. I actually don't mind this system because it's kind of like Halo 2, where you can have two primary weapons and then you just got your big heavy weapon. But here's the one issue I have with it. What does that do for those guns' utility in PvE? Because now you can't have a unified sniper in PvE. You can't just go into strikes and have a sniper. You have to choose between, a rocket launcher or a sniper rifle in PvE. And I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, I would say that heavy has to be weighted. Depending on what you're using, I feel, unless snipers like damage they've just been boosted up beyond belief. Which we'll talk about in just a sec, but continue. Really? Is there confirmation that the snipers are much more powerful in this game?
No, but just a few insinuations I'll get into in just a sec.
Well, let's say that snipers in 2, speculatively, have around the same amount of impact and power as they do in 1. So I'm trading off a rocket launcher, a grenade launcher, a sword, and I guess a mutant rocket launcher called the Dubious Volley for a sniper.
A mutant rocket.
I'm trading all that off so I can be a precision marksman. But I'm not getting the same amount of damage as I would. Let's
Correct.
say. Or ad clearing. I'm electing to change my playstyle to be a precision marksman to pick off targets or use a sniper for boss damage. So is heavy going to be weighted so that I pick up stuff? Or am I just going to sit there flat-footed and say, well, sorry guys, my damage isn't really on point because I'm using a sniper, or I'm not using a sword.
Because you had to pick between one or the other.
Yeah. Actually, I feel like snipers have respectable damage, as they always have. But
they do, yeah.
But but I feel like the real question mark comes with fusion rifles being in that heavy slot. Why would I ever elect to use a fusion rifle in PvE unless
That's my big issue.
Unless they've adjusted fusion rifles to just be godlike. Like every fusion rifle is a sleeper.
Is a sleeper. That's the only that's one of the biggest things, biggest questions I had coming out of this event, is because nobody there used fusions. Nobody did. Like everybody, some people tried to use sniper rifles. Apparently, it pairs really well with the empowering rift if you're a warlock with that 20% damage boost.
Of course, it's like a weapons blood.
But nobody used fusion rifles because they were like, no, why would I take this weapon that takes much more time to start up, has to be a bit more precise because there is travel time with fusion rifles. It's not a hit scan weapon like everything else.
Yep.
And that's a big problem because fusion rifles are capable of one-shot killing if all the bolts hit, but the only way I could see them kind of really making up for that, by putting fusion rifles in power weapon sections, is if every fusion is like the sleeper now. They all fire a straight single bolt that can kill if you land. That's the only way I could see that working. And unfortunately, I think from the fusions that were available at the event, that wasn't the case. They function just like fusion rifles in today's game do, which is going to put them at an extreme disadvantage if they are your power weapon of choice.
Here's how you remedy that. You give snipers and fusions bigger reserves, in my opinion. You need to give them like at least 30 shots, I would say. Like 30 shots for fusions and snipers, pretty okay. Like I'll be fine with that. If I can carry around 30 shots of like a Telesto or like a LDR or maybe like a Ex Machina, if I can carry 30 rounds of that, I'll be fine. But if I had the same impact and the same mag restrictions as Destiny 1, I won't pick those weapons. Like, I'll just use a scout and like a hand cannon and then use like a rocket launcher or sword. I have no reason to use those if I am not compensated for my choice. If I'm not compensated for ammo reserves, more damage, or something that balances out that class. Because like you said, there's really no reason to use snipers or fusion rifles in a class that have swords or rocket launchers or grenade launchers. Of course, there's going to be some encounters that will favor a sniper. There are going to be some situations that favor a fusion rifle.
You'll have to choose your build.
But you will have to choose it and make your trade-offs.
Yeah.
For me, I don't think there's going to be much in the cards for me to say I'm going to use a fusion rifle for this encounter.
Same here.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it also leads to the question, because this is what I said I want to talk about, but when you're talking about how sniper rifles are going to perform if they're put up against stuff like rockets and stuff, does that mean we're still going to be getting different varying impact archetype for sniper rifles? Because who's going to pick a low impact, high rate of fire sniper rifle? Are they just gonna phase out some of those different weapon archetypes? Since if they're gonna have a sniper rifle be a power weapon, be in essence a heavy weapon, you want it to be one of those max damage, sustained DPS weapons. Are they just gonna get rid of those archetypes? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered here, and there's a lot of repercussions from them moving sniper rifles and stuff to the power weapon slot.
Yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, I think it's going to be an interesting decision. I think it's a good decision in PvP. I'm not so sure about how it's going to work in PvE.
This is one of those sections where balance PvE and PvP separately. And they couldn't do it. And they absolutely couldn't do it. At least from a outside view looking
perspective.
Yeah. We haven't played the game yet, so.
We haven't played the game. So, we'll have to see when the beta eventually comes out. But for PvP, it worked pretty well from what I saw. Because you had to choose between, power ammo spawns every 30 seconds, so twice a minute in PvP now, which sounds crazy until you look at some of the restrictions there. You might think, so people are going to have rocket launcher and grenade launcher and sword ammo every 30 seconds? Well, no. 2 players will have it, because when the power ammo spawns, the only players who get it are the ones who pick up the box. So you actually have to be the first person to the box to hold square or X and get it before everybody else does. And you have to make some real choices there. Sure, you can run around with a rocket launcher and try to cheese the entire game with a rocket, but if you do that, the power weapon that you get is you only get 1 rocket if you do that. Whereas if you're running with the shotgun, you might get, say, 6 shotgun shells. That's 6 potential kills versus the 1 potential kill, maybe 2 to 3 if everybody's standing together, that you might get with a rocket launcher. That's a huge trade-off. And that also ties in with something they did with the HUD. Were you aware of this, John? The change that they made to the HUD?
Not until you told me, no.
When special ammo spawns, when the power ammo spawns and somebody picks it up, the HUD will tell you who picked up that ammo and what ammo it was for. So if you're running around with a rocket launcher and you pick up power ammo, your name comes up on the kill feed saying, "Hey, XXY picked up shotgun or picked up rocket launcher shells." So now everyone knows, okay, this person's got a rocket launcher. They've probably only got 1 shot. I've got a sniper with 5 shots. I'm just gonna sit back and blast them away. And I think I think in PvP this works really, really well. And that was certainly the case with the report that we got from a lot of PvP players from this event, that this system adding in the power ammo with the power weapon changes every 30 seconds, it actually works really, really well, because again, it's a smaller game mode. It's 4v4 rather than 6v6 now, so you kind of have to plan out who's going to be getting the power ammo on your team, what weapon they're using, and what their playstyle is, and it makes for an overall more fluid game experience, and I'm down with that. Grenade launchers seem pretty strong though. I was getting a couple of reports that might be the best power weapon for PvP right now, because grenades, it takes 2 shots to kill, but the splash damage is more than worth it. Because I think Bone said he was running around with a grenade, with like the Haka grenade launcher, and he found the best strategy to be you pepper 1 or 2 shots near a few enemies, and that softens them enough for the rest of your team to just move in and sweep out with primary fire, because primary weapons have been a bit reduced in power, and the time to kill for them has been raised up a bit. So you might be seeing a lot of noob tubing going on in Destiny 2, but I don't have too much of a problem with that, to be honest.
For me, it raises a lot of concerns. For 4v4, I'm glad that they changed it to 4v4 first off, but the power weapon system raises a bit of issues for me. One is, yes, only 1 person can get it, but the impact that weapon is going to have on the match can be infinitely more important than a super. It can be.
Yeah, it can be.
It's like, yeah, if 2 teams, or if 2 people on the same team get control of both heavies, they can just steamroll. And I saw a bit of footage where if a team got to steamrolling, it was over. It was over.
Yeah.
It was just like, hey, supercharge, orbs, grab the heavy. Just like, I really hope that comp doesn't go in this direction as like a spectator, because 4v4 is a good step in
it's a step in the right direction.
It's a step in the right direction for comp, but these new mechanics, not exactly the greatest in my opinion. Partially it has to do with primary fire being so weak and heavies just being really, really strong, as they've always been strong, but further raising the time to kill on primaries, it boggles my mind.
That was a questionable decision.
It really boggles my mind. I mean, it reinforces the notion that Bungie wants this game to be a team shooter. But further raising it after the complaints that they've gotten from the community saying, hey, we want primaries to be good again. Questionable. Very questionable. Some might say head ass, as I would.
Some might say,
as I like to put it. But overall, I'll give Bungie the benefit of the doubt. I know I probably shouldn't be, but I have to play the game before I make that assumption. All I can do is speculate, but I don't like high time to kills in a first-person shooter. I don't think a lot of people do.
Yeah, that's been one of my biggest issues with Destiny ever since year 1, where I feel like the time to kill of a lot of weapons was actually in a pretty good spot. But yeah, so they've definitely raised the time to kill a little bit, and I noticed that Like, it was taking 3 bursts with, like, certain or impact archetypes of pulse rifles to kill rather than 2. You're probably not going to be able to pull the old hand cannon, 1 shot to the head, 2 shots to the body to kill anymore. And it's more of an emphasis on team shooting, which I felt never really should have been the focus of a game like Destiny. I don't think it's worked very well. And I don't know if it'll work very well in Destiny 2. But like I said, we haven't played it, so I wouldn't know. I don't like that direction either, man.
Yeah,
I never have.
It's just Bungie looking at their sandbox and say, we want to lessen the importance of 1v1s, and they did it. They said, okay, there's going to be less of a impact on if you win your 1v1s, and more of an impact if you can group up with your team and take out a target. Like you, I've never really supported the team shooting philosophy, but it just frustrates me knowing that this game's PvP, at least right now in a test build, is looking to be a repeat of stuff that we do not like. As a community, we've said lower time to kills, buff primaries, make primaries great again, and now they said, well, we don't really want to make primaries great again, so let's just give them a power weapon system that spawns heavy ammo every 30 seconds. Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah.
But what are we going to give the comp scene? Nothing. Oh, no. Let's give them a search mode. Because totally, comp scene really likes playing Trials. No. Comp scene does not like Trials. Comp scene likes respawn game modes like Salvage and Skirmish and Zone Control. Yeah. That's just how it's always been. But let's just get them search and say it's gonna be okay. Here's your search game mode, sweaty players. And sweaty players are like, we never really liked elimination to begin with, so why would you give us this? Scratch his head.
Yeah, and
it's a bit of a
we also
conundrum.
like being able to win 1v1s, not being able to win 50% of a 1v1 and then have your opponent run away and completely heal because it's really hard to kill with a primary weapon. Yeah, it's just I don't understand the decision, but it's obviously the philosophy they're moving on. I guess maybe they are just trying to take things back to like a more Halo feeling experience because.
But in Halo, you could 2-burst with a battle rifle.
That's true. Yeah, you could just 2-burst with a battle rifle. I don't know. I don't understand why the focus on team shooting is there, where it came from, and why when. I don't think it's done them a lot of good in the past year or two, why they would continue to push on with it, but I don't know. We'll have to see when the beta finally comes out. One thing I do want to mention that for energy weapons, because this whole higher time to kill brought up the question of, well, what about supers? How in the world are we supposed to shut down a super if we don't have our own super and they come bowling around? Because supers still give you extra armor. How are we supposed to contend with that with primary weapons?
But wait.
Well,
thankfully, we can team shot them, right?
You can, but thankfully they put in some other another kind of failsafe. Oh. Energy weapons deal extra damage to enemies in their super.
Oh yeah, if the corresponding element lines up, right?
Actually, nope. The corresponding element doesn't even have to line up. That was something that came out that a lot of people were speculating on and thought, oh, okay, so if I have a solar weapon, I can shut down that Dawn Blade. Well, it turns out you don't even have to have a solar weapon. If any energy weapon will deal extra damage to enemies in their super, which is good. I think you should have just had primaries be, or kinetic primaries be competent, ? But thankfully, at the very least, you can deal extra damage to them with your energy weapons.
I can see it week 1, Reddit. Elemental primaries are too strong, guys.
Yeah. And you know what? That leads to another question, because I think kinetic or energy weapons, I think their ammo drops from other players when you kill them, just like primary weapons is. They might even actually share ammo with primary weapons. Who knows? Why would you even use a kinetic then?
Yeah.
If energy weapons are going to deal normally about as much damage as kinetic weapons, and then they'll just have the option of dealing more damage than or more damage against supers, and energy weapons can be the same classes as primary weapons. So you might have a great energy hand cannon that you really like using. Why would you ever use a kinetic?
I guess to save ammo.
But if you're getting kills, you should be getting that ammo back. Because I'm not exactly sure, but I'd imagine that energy weapon ammo isn't going to be that limited in PvP.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't see anything about energy weapon boxes. Who knows? Maybe I just missed that, but that would be my question. Like, why would I ever use a kinetic then, if kinetics are just going to be Garbo booty butt cheeks?
I guess,
question mark.
I guess that applies to today's Destiny as well.
Yeah, it's still primary question mark. I don't know, but we'll just have to see. Was there anything else you want to talk about concerning the weapons?
I'm pretty sure I've made my peace with it.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. I can't wait for the beta to come out and I can finally get my hands on it and see how this is going to go. I get the feeling I'm just going to run power weapon-wise with a grenade launcher. I don't see really much of a reason to run with anything else. You get 4 shots rather than the 1 rocket you'd get if you're using a rocket launcher.
Yeah.
Might as well go for it. But alright, so that's it for the weapons. Let's move on. So alright, that's pretty much where our conversation on the weapon system in Destiny 2 ended, and where we'll be putting a stop to today's video. Be sure to let us know what you Guardians think down in the comment section below, and stay tuned for the next part of this ongoing series. But that's it for this one. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, I am TheBlackLink. You Guardians, stay frosty.